How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about The Last Man on Earth from 1964. This is directed by Sidney Salkow and stars Vincent Price, the horror legend. This is based on I Am Legend, a novel by Richard Matheson. The novel would get adapted 2 more times after this, once as the Omega Man with Charleston Heston, I believe, and the third time as I Am Legend with Will Smith, and this would be the first time that the movie would actually use the book's title. But Last Man on Earth is the first one, and I'm going to go ahead and start talking a little bit about the plot. I'm not going to do any spoilers, but I want you guys to have a little bit of a familiarity with what this story is about. You get this guy, Morgan, and he is literally the last man on Earth after there's a huge apocalypse, a vampire apocalypse, which is something you don't get too often. In fact, these are very strange vampires. They act a lot like zombies, but this is 1964, before Night of the Living Dead, which would be 1968, I believe. These vampires do a lot of the typical vampire things. They don't like crosses. Morgan has crosses on his door. They don't like garlic. It's a bad smell. It repulses them. And they don't like sunlight. They will die in the sunlight. However, they don't like mirrors because they can't stand their reflection. Which usually mirrors for vampires are just, you can't see a vampire's reflection. It's an indicator. But here, you can see the reflection, they just don't like it, and they feel compelled to look away or smash the mirror. But unlike most vampires, these get large groups of people, and they form hordes of the infected, which is very zombie-like. One thing that's kind of in the middle is their intelligence. You know, vampires are of normal human intelligence, and zombies have next to nothing, and they describe them as like animals in this movie, which would be more like zombies, but they do actually talk a bit, although what they say is typically things like, "Morgan, come out here, Morgan." So it's not super intelligent speak, but they do talk. A big non-zombie thing is they don't eat flesh. Like, they're not, like, they'll try to bite you, but not eat you completely. No zombie gore. But the biggest zombie thing is this is actually a sickness. It's a germ, you know, that does spread it, which is why so many people got it, because they all got sick. But yeah, these are technically vampires, so I'm pretty sure I won't put this in my zombies playlist. But they do act a lot like zombies, and this is before zombies are really coined. I guess if Night of the Living Dead was Halloween, then Last Man on Earth would be Black Christmas. It got a lot of the tropes that would become zombies right, not all of them, but technically vampires and not zombies. But it is kind of weird to see zombie-like vampires. But anyway, Vincent Price is the last guy here, and he has to be very cold to survive, very calculating to survive. He has a setup, you know, he has his generator going. It's actually a really cool detail. He couldn't figure out how to get the generator to power the house directly, so he has a bunch of lights strung by cords all throughout his house, and there's cords everywhere, and his house has become a disheveled mess, you know? But he has his generator. He has to replace the garlic and mirrors, so he always goes out to the city, goes to a mirror shop to get more mirrors, and he has like a grocery store, I think it's like a strip mall grocery store, that he has another generator keeping the refrigerator going, the freezer going rather, to have all his meat and garlic saved for as long as he possibly can. But the biggest cold and calculating and procedural thing he does, because he's really about procedure, is he goes every day and does a section on the map where he looks through all the buildings and he finds where the vampires are sleeping, and drives a wooden stake through their heart. Then he loads them all in the back of his car and takes them to the pit, where he dumps them in and lights them on fire, and then he goes home and he marks off a section of the map and crosses it off, and he's been at it 3 years and he's only got about half the city, but he's very meticulously getting all the vampires out of his city. Going out in the day when they're asleep, killing them, and then huddling back in his house at night. He has a system he's calculating, and it's really cool to see calculating Vincent Price. But then after a particularly rough night, at the end of Act 1, he has a flashback, and Act 2 is all a big flashback. You get to see Vincent Price as a doctor studying the disease, and at the time it's just in Europe, and they're doing pretty bad, and he's studying it, trying to figure out what's going on, what's up with it. He knows it's a germ, he doesn't quite know how to stop it, and there's rumors. One guy, his friend, says that there's a rumor, and he hears it's like vampires, and Vincent Price dismisses it. This is one of those things that always, recently struck me, because you remember in real life, in the beginning, before it really got over here, and even shortly after it did, and to an extent still now, there's so many rumors and uncertainty where people, especially in the beginning, weren't 100% sure what they should or shouldn't do and what would or wouldn't work. And just whenever I see this segment with rumors, that always strikes a chord, that was like real life. But then of course you see it start to come over here, it start to get a few people, and it start to impact the people he loves, and the way it just comes and folds in really quickly. Again, a lot like real life, but luckily for us, no vampires in real life, and not everybody died, so thank goodness. But, yeah, you do get to see him and everything collapse towards him, but for some reason, he's immune, and he'll speculate as to why, but he never really knows. But yeah, he's immune, and you get to see why he became the last man on Earth, and that's a really cool flashback sequence, and you get to see what happened. But not gonna lie, the first time I saw the movie, this flashback sequence was kind of jarring, because you were so into the story of Vincent Price being the last man on Earth that when you get to this flashback part, it kind of takes you out of it. You're like, oh, I was liking this one story, now we get this other story. And over time, as I've watched it more and more, you know what's coming, and you do get to appreciate a lot of things they do here. But yeah, man, that first time I saw it, I was like, well, I like the other story. Go back. I want to see Vincent Price fighting the vampires. But this is an important part, so I'll give it to them for that. But yeah, you do have to go, okay, we're looking at something else now. But then of course we go back to the back to the present, or present at the time, and things get pretty grim and dark. There are several cool things revealed, and again, no spoilers, and there may, like that section with the past, there's stuff in there that I didn't spoil, so don't worry, I didn't just cover everything. But yeah, the third act gets pretty grim and dark, but no spoilers. But anyway, yeah, it's a really cool and grim look. Vincent Price, he does calculating, he does a lot of tragedy and a lot of suave characters, but to see the calculating Vincent Price, you don't see that necessarily every time, and, to see this character pushed so far to the edge where literally one move and it could all be over, gotta get back every night. This is Vincent Price at his most desperate, and that is really cool to see this version of a character. And yeah, this is a really great movie. It's one of those, like Night of the Living Dead, that I can just put on whenever and watch. There's some movies that I'm like, do I want to watch that again? But this is one of those movies that I could just watch whenever, and I do really like that. And I need a I need an upgrade to this. This is a DVD in one of those cardboard boxes. I have this movie in a few ways. This is his only standalone one, but this movie you see a lot in multi-packs where they just put a bunch of classic movies together. So I do have this movie a few times, but I really need to upgrade this to like Blu-ray or something. But it is pretty easy to find. I think there are several copies on YouTube, so I guess it's copyright free, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But you can find this movie pretty easy. It's easy to find and watch, and it's a classic for a reason. There's lots of movies that were made in this time, you know, and they didn't have like the best actors or the best script or logic in there. And things that stand out and become classics are usually classics for a pretty good reason. They really rose above the rest. And to see this sort of proto-zombie movie is really, really cool. And a cool character played by Vincent Price. And I think, you know, man, I like the Omega Man. And I Am Legend is still pretty good, but there are definite faults with that. But I think this is probably the best version. I don't know. Yeah, I think this is the best version. Omega Man's really cool, though. But yeah, I'll definitely be covering the other two. They're both worth watching. But yeah, anyway, I definitely recommend checking this out. If you wanted to see Vincent Price, if you want to see a classic horror, if you want to see something that oddly got close to the zombie movie before the zombie movie was invented, definitely check this out. That being said, thank you for watching. To everyone who's made this far, to everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I do about 95% horror on this channel, so if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, I definitely recommend sticking around. I'll put a relevant playlist down here, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Have a good day.